Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have a St. Paul Falcon himself. He's a senior, Ben Bochicchio, who plays on the men's, or rather boys basketball team for St. Paul. But first off, I just want to say, Ben, it's great to be able to have you on, and being able to see you play the last couple of times for St. Paul, both during the regular season and also the game I had against Crosby in the NBL tournament. Heck of a player, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I loved hearing you guys broadcast especially in Naugatuck, some of those games. It's a lot of fun.
Now I got to ask you, did you like? I don't know if you listened to any of the games in particular, but when I had my partner Dave Grant, you must have loved hearing him a couple of times when he questions the refs. That's always good.
Yeah, I would hear him like in the Crosby versus Naugatuck. I would hear him. He hates like Euro steps, and I was like, it's 2 steps.
Don't get him involved with that, because he like, there's 2 things he hates more than anything. One of them is Euro steps.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't think that's a travel, but
Hey, he's an older. We played basketball back in the day before there was a 3-point line, so that kind of tells you how long it's been for him. But anywho, Ben, again, great to be able to have you on here. Before we talk about obviously your time, and I wish you were with St. Paul a lot longer than just 1 year, but hey, we'll get into that in a little bit. I kind of want to talk about yourself, hence why you're on here, about kind of the game of basketball. I know sports kind of finds players in different ways. It finds people. Sometimes it attracts them because of relatives, family members, etc. Sometimes it's there. For you, how did the game of basketball find you?
Well, I'm from Watertown. That's where I spent most of my life. So when I was growing up, I had an older cousin, Mickey. He played for Woodland MVL. I think he was all brass, maybe. I could be wrong, or whatever their division is. But he was like a couple years older than me, and I would always look up to him. So like he liked wrestling, then like I liked wrestling, and then he started like basketball, so I started like basketball. Mm-hmm. And and then he liked baseball, and I liked baseball. But like, so I was playing baseball and basketball mostly growing up. And then by the time we got to like 4th grade, I'd say, my team, St. John's, my school, we were like really competitive for like kids love to play basketball. And like, since everyone was playing, I was like, I'm going to play. and I was one of the bigger kids. And then I felt like I could always kind of shoot like naturally pretty well. So then that's just kind of how I started playing. And I was like, if I actually want to play, I have to be pretty good. So I started working at it.
Now, real quick, also, it's the Copper division, or no, Watertown's the Iron division, and Woodland is also, they switched over. They went from the Iron division and now they're in Copper.
Yeah, because Watertown's in ours, or St. Paul's.
So, but yeah, you were close. I mean, maybe one day they were back in the brass, but then they were in Iron, and now they switched back over to Copper.
Yeah, I didn't even know Copper. I didn't know what the divisions were except for Iron.
They switch every now and again, so it's hard to keep up. But so you're from Watertown, you said, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't go through the public schools. You went through the parochial schools, correct? In Watertown?
I actually had kind of a weird path with I was at St. John's. Then I was at Bristol. I lived in Bristol for a year. St. John's, but then I went to Swift for a year, the public middle school.
Yep.
And then I went after 7th grade. I went to a junior boarding school.
Okay. See, I went to Swift myself. I think you probably were there when it was all nice and done and built and everything.
Yeah, we were good. We had Stephen Alsif, Bristol Central. Yep. Me, him. We were good. We beat a couple of the Waterbury schools.
Really?
Yeah. If that whole class, Camden Garcia from Watertown.
Yep.
Like we were a pretty good team when we were back in the day.
Yeah, Swift's always had a lot of very good, and it's funny because, like you said, you start out with there, and then a lot of times, like, some kids go to Watertown and then they kind of disperse. They go to different places for various reasons.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where being able to build that bond early on, like you said. I mean, you and I were talking about how, like, I think you said you played with Klingon, or you've kind of worked out with him, whatever it was. Obviously, Jamie, who was your teammate, and then you mentioned Alsef, Garcia. Basketball kind of just brings that family atmosphere, and it's like, even though there's some days where it's like, you know what, you may like, if there's a game where it's like, we didn't see eye to eye, but then the following day you can make things up pretty easily.
Yeah. 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 I'm trying to think, because we had that team actually had a lot of athletes. Like Camden was at post playing in college. Steven Alsif gonna play in college, I think, if he wants to. I haven't talked to him in like a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Finiteri was on that team, if you know him.
What was
Plays
his name?
for Aiden Finiteri. He plays baseball at Georgia Tech, I think.
Yes. Yep.
Couple other guys. I'm blanking. If anyone watched this, who was on that team. But we had like, that was like, it's crazy that you say that, because like when you get together like a team like that, especially at public schools, how like it could be one good year, one really bad year, but like no matter what, like the team is going to stick together. If that makes sense.
And like you said, no matter if it's 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you could talk about those times that you guys had both, going through Swift and then even at the high school level. Because as we know, Alsef won a ring with Bristol Central. He was very, very good with Sacred Heart. I mean, it's a shame that the school had to close, but the point is, seeing all the talent kind of disperse and being around, it's almost like you guys are kind of, and you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like no matter where they went to school and how far they go in college, you're still going to keep in contact. You're still going to check up on them when you can, just to see how they're doing.
Yeah, it's like that. Like most of my teammates, I feel like that's, or at least that's how I feel. Like once we play in a team together, like it's mostly good dudes you're playing with, and like it goes deeper than basketball. So
exactly. So the game of basketball for you now, that was pretty interesting as far as kind of how it found you. Was the game something where it came to you easy, or was it where, not to say you didn't have to work, because I know you bust your butt and you do everything possible, but for the game itself, did that come easy to you?
Yeah, kind of like, for me at least, it was a lot like naturally. I could just process it a lot better, and like I was always like, when I started playing, like I had a pretty good handle already, like better than other kids, and like I just kept working at it. Like I wouldn't say it came to me easier. I just enjoyed getting better more than a kid my age usually would. Like there was times, especially like when I was at Swift, I would go Swift practice, then I'll go work out with like Ms. Work in Waterbury. And then I go to AU practice with like New Haven Heat or something all in one night. Like,
Really?
yeah.
So how are you able to doing all that? Obviously, being as young as you were, you don't have to worry about the extra stuff. As far as I know, obviously homework, but there's other things that really are not that much of a concern. But as you get older, do you feel like going through that kind of helped you as you aged, going through high school and then now, which we'll talk about later, as far as you going off to play college basketball, because it allowed you to structure your day, like you said, Swift, workout, AAU, and then you just do it all over again.
Yeah. Well, it did when I was younger, like time management wise. I mean, my parents helped a lot with that and all, but how I went to junior boarding school and stuff like that, it really helped with like time management, being able to plan what I want to do and just being able to prioritize stuff. But like it does get harder as you get older, like especially like your friends, like we get like I working, like you gotta get a job, like gotta get a summer job, like you still want to be able to see your friends, but still you have to just find a way to balance it all. So
As you were going through your workouts when you were younger, what part of the game did you feel like uh, was one that you needed to focus on more? Was it your footwork? Was it your shot? Was it free throw shooting, your mid range, long range? What part of your game do you feel like was a strength for you when you were younger?
um I'd probably say, even though had to work on it the most, it would probably still be my dribbling and my probably my I want to say still my shooting, because I was a lot bigger than a lot of kids when I was young. So I could shoot from a little bit farther a lot more consistently. Not that anyone can shoot that consistently when they're that young, but those two parts of my game probably.
Okay, interesting, interesting. So obviously we know, for people who may not know, so I shouldn't say obviously, but you spent some time at Canterbury. Did I say that right? Canterbury?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to make sure I get that right. Don't want any hate mail, people send me whatever. So, and then, situation stuff happened, and then you find a way to be able to now play for St. Paul, and you decide to go there. Um, take me into talk to me about your first conversation that you had with Coach Phelps, as far as because I'm sure it was like, hey, I play basketball. Oh, you're the head coach? Oh, cool. We need to build this relationship. Talk to me about that.
It's actually kind of funny because when I was in middle school back at Swifts in like 7th grade,
Mhm.
I was thinking of St. Paul. I would go to like all the games. Coach Phelps and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. And I've shadowed the school with one of the players, and I went to a practice. Now go like all the games. And he was like, I would ask my son, because his son Brendan was on the coaching staff still at the time. He's like, who is like this kid who keeps coming to all our games? Like and but then I ended up not going. Obviously, I went on a different path.
Mhm.
And then this summer, when I was thinking about where else I wanted to go, because there's other schools I was thinking about. I was talking to Coach Vasquez, Julio, and because I worked out with him a lot previously, and he set me up to be on the summer league team with St. Paul. So I showed up I just showed up to the first summer league game, and they were giving out the uniforms at the parking lot, and Coach Phelps was there, and he's just like, Ben, you finally came to your senses. And that was our first interaction.
And now when he said that, because Phelps, Steve Phelps, fantastic guy, and his son has done great work with Post. Their season that they've had has been fantastic for
Yeah.
them. Now, when he said that to you, did he say that with a straight face, or did he have it with like a smirk when he said you finally came to your senses?
It was, I could tell he was joking, but it was with a straight face too, I would say.
I'm sure deep down he was laughing, but he wanted to make
Yeah.
sure he didn't show his laughter too early.
Yeah.
That's funny. So just kind of the whole, I mean, like how the first, take me into, I mean, obviously now we talked about your time with, the first conversation with Coach Phelps. Now, kind of bring me into you stepping into the school and then kind of being a part. I mean, the big thing, culture. I told Jamie, I told Suze this, Eric Suzio, culture. I love the culture. I can't define it because I'm not there every day, but I fell in love with it after talking with everybody from the St. Paul basketball team. Talk to me about that culture. What is it to you?
It was nice stepping into a culture like this, because when you're at a prep school, everyone has to play 3 sports usually. So you can't, this is just straight off. This is the first thing I think of, like, couldn't watch each other play as much. But here it's like, moment I got on campus with Matt, like he introduced me to all his friends. And then we were like, he was like, all right, we're going to watch girls soccer tonight. And I was just like, okay, like, I guess, like, I would never thought about going to, like, and then I get there and like, there's so many people out there to watch like all these games, like the football games. Our football team had an okay year, but we were still at every game. With especially to support one, like Sue's, like we're out there watching Sue's. This spring, Matt and I already talked about it. It was one of the first things when we, after the season ended, we're like, all right, like talking to Ryan, we're gonna be at every game.
Yeah, you got to be there for baseball because Ryan, if he's not hitting tanks already, there's going to be a lot of tanks hit this year.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna sit like 100 feet past the fence and just hope I catch one.
Yeah, or if you want, just stand on top of the roof at the school. I mean, I'm sure he'll hit a couple there, right?
Yeah, they gotta go. They're gonna be all over.
Yeah, it's going to be everywhere. I mean, he's just an amazing talent. I hope to have him back on here sometime in the future because, again, great dude overall.
Yeah.
So the culture, another thing I want to ask, because in talking with Eric, one of the assistant coaches, and then having Phelps and I have our conversations before the games, I used to always say, like, it's a good time, like it's a good day to have the culture today, or it's a good, when you guys played against Crosby, it's never too early to have some culture. And
Yeah.
just hearing them just talk about it more. I mean, you talk about the family aspect, supporting one another, not just the teammates, but outside the other sports being
Mm-hmm.
supported as well. As far as the team aspect,
Mm-hmm.
with you being what was a one and done, a first time and only
Yeah.
player with St. Paul for a year. How was that for you? I mean, was it very easy to kind of get acclimated into what is now or what has always been the culture at St. Paul?
Yeah, it was stepping into it. It was a lot of fun to be in a culture like that. I feel like that's a word that we should have used more. That like it's still a game and like it's fun to be with guys who you want to play with.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that like we come to practice every day and everyone's excited. We all wear like we have the jersey and then we have an undershirt and it have a message on the back. And at least there's two messages: do your job and fearless. And I think those two really describe how the culture is, because everyone just did their job, and we were not scared of any team this year. I think we can confidently say that we came out and just came and played.
I can second that. Even though the two games that we did that were losses against Holy Cross and then Naugatuck, especially Naugatuck, the way that you guys were able to battle back in that game and were within what I think Jamie's shot was a little bit short to taking them to potentially OT, and that would have been a game for the century. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. I wish we can get either of those games back and play them again, but I think they are a great example of especially just how we fight and how tough we were. We faced a lot of deficits and we never just let in and just let a team pound us. So
No, you guys never. Again, in the games that I did, you guys never. I mean, I wish I did a game where you guys won, and I felt like I was the bad luck. But you guys never gave up, and it was admirable to see a team compete from beginning to end, regardless of the score. You know what I mean?
yeah,
For you, because I know at Canterbury it was hard to get playing time because obviously there's this, like you told me before we started this, having to compete and going up against some big time players. I mean, I think you said Canterbury had the 7 player off the bench is going D1 somewhere. I mean,
6 or 7 if you want this. I don't know. He was
oh, 6, 7,
yeah, yeah,
wherever
yeah,
he is. So again, if you're mad, I apologize. Send it to me. Don't go to Ben here. But
yeah.
then you go to St. Paul, and now you're not only getting more as far as playing time, you're starting. How were you able to kind of adjust to that? Because I'm sure it took a little bit for both physically and mentally to understand, like, hey, I'm playing every single. I need to expect to start every single game. I have to be ready. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, first game I came out, I had a pretty good game. My first game, I don't feel like it really affected me until like I started getting into a slump. Like after our first like quarter of the season, it was right during the middle of the season where I kind of hit a little bit of a slump or a little bit of a wall, and like it was different for me where I couldn't just like bounce back and like, oh, it doesn't really affect team. Like I'm one of our guys who needs to play well, and it made me realize how much like I feel like I always did the little things, but like when my shot wasn't on, I had to lead more than just do. Like I had to be a vocal leader. I had to be a good presence for all of our guys, especially because we had some older guys on the team, but we had a lot of younger guys too, who I couldn't let them see like I'm struggling a little bit right now,
Mm-hmm.
but like I still keep my head up. I'm still gonna this next play. So
And one of those younger players was the freshman Logan Remish, who is probably going to be, if not, will be, I think, along with Elijah Parker from Holy Cross, the names that people should start to realize. I'm sure they know Parker, maybe not Logan as much because it's Parker was sucking up all the helium from all the attention, but Logan's a very, very good player. Just talk me into kind of what you saw from him, because like you just said, you wanted to make sure that you led not only around the older players but making sure that the younger guys knew what was expected. Talk to me about that too.
yeah, Logan from probably like one of the first like fall games I played with him when we played in the fall league, I knew right away like he could contribute this year. And one of the things I liked most about playing with him is just his mentality, how he wanted to soak up like everything that the seniors and older players were trying to tell him. Because a lot of kids, if I came in as a freshman, I remember, and I was 14, and I was playing right away, I'd be like, whatever, like I'm playing, like I'm good. But he wanted to like he would listen. Like whenever I tell him, hey man, like he'd make a mistake, I'd be like, you should do like this instead. Like this will probably work out better. Like he's like, okay, next play. He makes an adjustment, and it's just like, if you're that young and you respond to criticism that well, like you're basically setting yourself up on a good path.
And I'm sure Logan will, if he watches this, I'm sure he'll be like, "Oh, what a nice thing he just said." So I want to kind of talk to you about, obviously, I'm sure you had a lot of moments throughout your senior year with St. Paul that you'll never forget. Is there one in particular? Because I know the one that comes to my mind is the shot that you had against Valley. I think it was the game winner, correct?
Yeah.
Now, would that be, is that the one that you're going to kind of treasure or no?
Um, I'd have to. I think I put it one. Um, I'm not gonna put it one. I'll probably say it's definitely a top three.
Okay.
I probably have a top three where I wouldn't put them in any order, but I mean it has to be. It was their senior night.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking a lot, and they actually switched, or at least what I heard was they actually switched their senior night. It was supposed to be the next game because they had a home game after us, and they picked us to be their senior night. And we were like, well, now we have to win.
You spoiled that party really quick.
Yeah, well, not that quick. Went down the wire, but yeah.
So take me into that game-winning shot, man. I mean, I'm sure you strike me. You have a high basketball IQ. Talk to me about that play, the shot, the whole nine.
So the game, it was a physical game. It was definitely, and we let them control the pace more than we should have.
Mm-hmm.
We let them slow it down. Like we were up at half, and they ended up taking the lead. They had a big shot, and I remember watching it go through, and I was like, "Are we really like gonna lose right now?" So I was like, "There's no way." And so we called a timeout, and Jamie had one of his rougher games that game. Like he still finished with a double because it's Jamie, but like he couldn't really shoot it that well. They were really honed in on him, and he wasn't getting many calls. And we were sitting on the bench, and I was like, we just looked at each other like, let's go. Like, and Coach Phelps drew up a great play for a double screen for Jamie to come off and kick it to me. And I remember coming out, and the kid, like Jamie drove, and the kid helped all the way off of me. And I was like, no, he should not have done that. And Jamie passed over the top, and I shot it right away. Couldn't even, like, sometimes when it leaves your hand, you can tell if it went in or not. I had no clue when I left my hands. And then when it went through, the first thing I was thinking was just like, get back. because there's still probably like 4 seconds left, and then they called a timeout. So that's what happened. Then after the game, she went straight to the locker room and just went crazy.
And what did Coach Phelps say after that game? After that was over?
I think he said, I could be wrong, but I remember him saying something along the lines of like, thanks for making me look good out there with that play. And I was like, Coach, that play was all you.
Oh, Coach Phelps. I'm telling you, he has a dry sense of humor, but it works. It really does.
Yeah, it's really funny.
So, and speaking of Coach Phelps, when he won, the milestone as far as wins for him, I saw on Twitter how exuberant, how excited the team was. I mean, again, I just want to know about that too. I mean, for you to be a part of that, because you were a part of history for that, you and everybody else. Take me into that too.
Yeah. It's funny. He genuinely didn't know that he was near it. Like I think he knew he was near it, but like he didn't know that that was the game.
Really?
So you could tell when he was like we were doing starting lineups, and he kept looking behind him, and he saw like all these alumni and all these family friends behind the bench. And you just kind of like, you can see him like point out something, and you just like, I think it finally like hit in, like probably during the game, like, oh, like something's happened in this game. Like, but then after, like, we're all really happy for him. Everyone hugged Coach Phelps, and I just told him I was really happy to be here, even if it was only for a year with him, and be able to experience this with him. So,
and we talked about how much Coach Phelps means to the community, and obviously, he would do anything for any one of you guys. And the stories he's told me, I'm sure he's told you guys stories as far as what he tries to do as much as he can to try to help any sort of alum, former players, current players, whatever it is. Now for St. Paul to lose to Norwalk, and I know you haven't watched that game, so I don't even want to discuss that. But as far as was there a final speech that he had with the seniors, or a final conversation you had with him, or anything like that you can share?
I'm not gonna say final, because we still talk after the season. I would give it, but it's not like some places where I feel like once the seniors are out, they're out. Going back to the culture, but after the game, he really barely even talked about the game. It was more just about what we had done, how much he cared about each of us, how we'll always be part of the program, family. And it was really tough after the game, but I remember coming off the court after I hit a free throw, they subbed me out with like 10 seconds left for one of the freshmen. I think it was Connor. And it didn't set in until like I came off and he had hugged me and thanked me for coming for the year and said that like I don't remember exactly what he said word for word right now, but I was just like, wow, like this is really it. It was tough.
And when you know, obviously after the season for you ended, I mean, you were able to kind of reflect a little bit. Was there anything in particular that you were able to kind of point out and say like you accomplished a lot in 1 year with St. Paul? You did a lot. I mean, the team, yourself, the whole nine. Were you able, or have you been able to really kind of sit back and say, we did this as a team. We did all this.
I would say definitely our record. I haven't talked to them about it, but I was thinking about it. I was like 14-6 is a quality record. Like it's a really good record, especially for a team that lost. I think what did we lose last year? 4 out of 5 starters. We only brought back 2 guys who played it all last year.
Yep.
And no one really thought we were going to be that great this year. And I think 14-6 is the best record, not counting last year with the COVID year. I don't remember what their record was, but with the state tournament, it's the best record St. Paul's had in a while. And we didn't finish out either of our playoffs, which still stings. But just the fact that we had such a great season and we didn't really have that many letdowns.
Now, before I let you go, Ben, I really appreciate you coming on here. I want to talk about you being able to have an opportunity to play college basketball. You'll be going to Lake Forest College, Division III. How did that come about? I mean, was there interest from other schools, or was it that's the one, I want to go there? Take me into that.
Well, it was a long process. There was like times last year where I didn't even know if like I'd be playing college basketball or playing. Like it was like really tough at times, but I had a lot of people around me who I really had like a good circle around me to keep me positive when I was feeling really down. And then as the AAU season went on, I started to get a lot more interest. I'd say I probably heard from like a decent amount of schools, real interest from like less than that, maybe like 8 schools, I'd say. And then I just started narrowing it down to places I thought were a really good fit based on talking to the coaches, seeing the campus, what majors they had. And when I went out to visit Lake Forest, I loved the campus. Coach Davis is a great guy. He was one of the most personal coaches I've met. And it's one of his first couple of seasons taking over there as a head coach. So based off watching some of their games, I was like, I like what he's building there. And I think I could fit in really well.
Well, Ben, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. It was a pleasure to be able to do some of your games for St. Paul this year. I wish I could have done more, but it was a great run that you had, and to be able to do the games on the air. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck with Lake Forest. And before you even go there, I hope you have a good rest of your senior year. I don't want to fast forward that any quicker, but enjoy it, man. And once again, it was great to be able to have you on.
Yeah, thanks. Hope to see you at some baseball games.
Hey, I may be there. You never know. I may be there.
30 Falcons.
Have to, buddy. Now, wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. And CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm Adrian. Find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.